Before meeting her, Royce was already married. His first wife had suddenly left him and their family to be with a military man she met by chance in a restaurant. It was a painful experience for Roy, and he thought he could never love again. However, life doesn't always go the way we expect, and one day Roy found himself falling in love again. Emma, who had just graduated from university and was looking for a job, faced numerous rejections from firms and companies due to her young age and lack of experience. This was frustrating for her, because she was serious about her future job and was gaining experience in various fields through summer jobs and internships. On the day they met, Roy was walking in the park with his daughter when he noticed Emma sitting on a bench crying after another unsuccessful job interview. Unable to ignore her distress, as others did, Roy approached her to find out what was wrong. Emma recounted her difficulties at job interviews, the constant rejections, and the fact that male bosses mocked her when she claimed knowledge and ability despite her limited experience. At the time, Roy owned a small business, specifically a child development center. Realizing that Emma's role as administrator was not suitable, he still offered her a temporary job there. Surprisingly, she accepted as she had no other options. Left alone and without money in a foreign city, Emma found herself in a rented apartment, desperately looking for a chance to build a future. Roy noticed the beautiful woman and began to show his affection, regularly bringing her flowers and treats to work. Eventually, he mustered up the courage to ask her out on a date. Emma accepted, as Roy had been interested in her from the moment she saw him walking toward her park bench. Their relationship quickly blossomed, and after 6 months they moved in together. A year later, Roy proposed to her, surprising himself as he had previously struggled with trust issues. As time went on, Abigail, Roy's daughter, grew up. She was finishing school and was going to enter the capital's university. Abigail had a great relationship with her stepmother, often referring to her as a substitute for her biological mother. Meanwhile, Roy's business was booming and Emma continued to work alongside him. At first, she tried to make her own career, but soon realized that it was not interesting to her. Roy was happy to have such a capable assistant in his business. They had recently opened a new branch of their center, and Emma temporarily took on the role of administrator while they set up all the necessary processes. During this time, Roy was focused on developing the new business, so the responsibility of club management fell entirely to Emma. She proved to be a competent manager, often staying at work late into the evening. The evenings were taken up with activities for the older children, including lessons led by a young man called Benjamin. At first, Emma admired Benjamin's professionalism, but as time went on, she felt physically attracted to him. She tried her best to suppress these intrusive thoughts about Benjamin, for infidelity was not her nature. However, every time she communicated with him, in her mind, there were vivid and frank images. Sometimes Benjamin seemed to perceive her thoughts, which made her feel even more anxious. Benjamin began addressing her as boss, showering her with compliments and inquiring about her well-being. He also showed interest in her personal life. One evening, as they were closing the center after a late class, Benjamin kissed her. The moment was like 1,000 fireworks exploding in Emma's mind. The sensation was both pleasurable and shameful at the same time. She enjoyed the kiss, even though she was infatuated with her younger lover, and her relationship with her husband Roy was suffering because of her constant thoughts about work. Roy was becoming increasingly annoying as Emma often compared him to Benjamin. In her thoughts, Benjamin seemed unburdened, cheerful, young, and handsome, which made her prefer him to her husband. Roy, puzzled by the sudden change in her behavior, could not understand what had happened to his beloved and why she was behaving as if she had been replaced. From a calm, balanced Emma turned into a furious fury, always dissatisfied with everything. Desperate to find out the reason for Emma's transformation, Roy found himself in his office waiting for a meeting with his partner. He got the impulsive idea to check the security cameras at the club where Emma worked. Knowing that she had evening classes that day, Roy logged into the CCTV, but found an empty room. Confused, he double-checked the time and realized that classes were still going on. Switching between cameras, his gaze finally fell on the back room, where he saw his wife kneeling in front of someone he thought was a brat. The sight stunned him. Disbelief and betrayal overwhelmed him. Roy immediately burned the video onto a flash drive, squeezing his eyelids so tightly that bright colors flashed across the blackness of his vision. Now, alone in his office with his computer humming in the background, Roy understood everything. He realized why Emma had changed, why she was constantly directing her anger at him. He canceled the upcoming meeting, saving the videotape, and hurriedly left. When he returned home, his wife was waiting for him as if nothing had happened. She greeted him with a kiss on the cheek. Roy shuddered as the CCTV image flashed before his eyes, making him feel disgusted and nauseous. He had never worked up the courage to tell her what he knew about her infidelity. During a sleepless night, he had a twisted idea that soon turned into the perfect revenge plan. Under the guise of celebrating their new business venture, Roy invited her to a restaurant where he prepared a surprise. He arranged with the receptionist to show a video from his flash drive on a TV screen in a private room they would occupy. The price he had to pay for this elaborate prank was high, but he had no qualms seeking justice. His ultimate goal was to humiliate his unfaithful wife. Unaware of Roy's intentions, she spent the evening in merriment, talking about her work and proudly showing a photo set by her stepdaughter from the university. At the end of the evening, Roy raised his glass and proposed a toast. With the glass in his hand, he stood up and began a heartfelt speech. At the same time, screens flashed across the room showing a video of her with Benjamin in a compromising pose. Shock overwhelmed her, and she burst into tears, hurriedly leaving the room. The divorce proceedings were long and contentious, with battles over jointly acquired property and constant attempts to manipulate her and ask for forgiveness. Finally, when it was over, Roy felt a sense of relief come over him. His adult daughter had realized the true face of her stepmother and severed all ties with her. As for the lover, having discovered the video, he quickly abandoned her, cutting off all contacts and stopping working. She managed to buy a small apartment, but happiness did not come, constantly overshadowed by the consequences of her betrayal. Her deed was given to her at a high cost, but time can no longer be turned back.